Today, we're going to be talking, of course, about the latest updates of the software, and then I'm going to go through the barcode, and then a thing called authorization zones. And people are going to go, what the heck is an authorization zone? So stay tuned, and you're going to find out. So let's get started on today's. We're going to be covering, of course, the recent changes, barcode release, and authorization zones. That's what we're going to be doing today. So it should be a lot of fun. Authorization zones is kind of a fun little thing. I can sit there mesmerized with them, but when we get to that point, you'll see them. Our next webinar is going to be March 6th, 10 a.m. Again, same kind of thing, topics and teaching update. So we fixed some W-2 issues. We've had employee numbers. We added some stuff for Jackson's and their import for the FMLA reporting. This was a big fix that we did. I'll cover some of that. I don't know if you guys are using the family leave and the reports for the new job type codes. We fixed some issues in the 1099 miss form where it didn't line up. But most of you should have gotten your 1099 miss already out, so that's don't really need to cover that. And then another big change is we updated a lot of the names of our menu items, as you'll see. So we've added the 2023 tax year, and we changed some of the other stuff from the standard to FMLA. So let's start with the FMLA. In the human resources, we now have the family, I want to say marital, but it isn't. It's something Leave Act. That's all I remember. Family, maybe somebody can chime in medical. If they remember it.
It's Family Medical.
Family Medical Leave Act. Thank you. So right now we have two different providers that we have programmed for their export and reporting. Absence Pro, which is the new one, and then we've had the standard for a while. So if we simply go into Absence Pro, it's set up for Jackson's. So there's just really two buttons. You create it. There's a couple things in here you have to put in, like they had some like overtime and personal time. There's some different time frames for the pay types that they had to exclude. I'm just going to say create export file. It just asks for a file and saves it. It's really straightforward. It doesn't really do a whole lot other than generate it out. But if you do happen to have Absence Pro, let us know so we can get your numbers and names and stuff set up in here. So while this is ticking and doing its little thing, there we go. So that's really all it does. It isn't, it does not like you get everything on the screen beautiful and, fun like. But if you were in payroll before, we used to have the standard over on this side, and I believe that's now moved over to human resources. This takes us right into the other one where you'll notice a lot of the names have changed. Like these used to all say like set up payroll department, set up year date, set up deduction address, set up deduction types. We kind of felt like the word setup in front of there didn't really, we have it at the top of the category. We didn't feel like the thing, the button or the menu type needed to have that name in there. So we removed it from there. So the words create, setup, and maintenance kind of all got, like, this used to be employees maintenance. We kind of got rid of those terms in everything we did, just to kind of clean it up and make the language for our application a little bit more standard for other places. We also in payroll moved a lot of the utilities, like the view stuff, from the setup and maintenance and posting over to actual utilities, because essentially, to view your works, it's what's happening here. These are the utilities. Posting wise, we did a lot in the moving things. We moved a couple of things from setup maintenance over to posting that didn't used to be there. So little things shuffled around. They're still all here, but they may have shuffled between the three columns, as well as their name may have changed a little bit on, like this used to be create W-2 terms, and then this used to be payroll tax report wizard. We got rid of the name wizard, things like that. we did the same thing for payables. This used to be vendor maintenance. We have vendors. Just to kind of cover that, just so you get a feel for, it's a little bit more standardized that where most places are doing their thing. We have a lot going on. The other thing we changed was a lot of things inside of W-2s. So if I go into payroll and I go to W-2 forms, a lot of little changes happened in here. Most of it was wrapped around the social security number and the create W-2 electronic file. So I'm just going to kind of mention those things and just say that's where a lot of our time and energy was spent this year making the W-2s. As far as the calculation and the numbers, everything else seemed to work out fairly smoothly for most people. Unless you guys can tell me differently. So let's see, we added the 1099, didn't used to show year 2 2022. That was simple. This report, how many people are using the account distributions report? The check register with account distributions. Anybody want to chime in? Just say, you know, yay, nay. But we've had a half dozen people that have, we had it right, we changed it, we had it another way, we changed it, and we're trying to work out exactly how to get this to be what people want. Sometimes it didn't report any data, sometimes it reported more than it's supposed to. So it kind of had a lot of go-arounds over the last little bit. So this is the reversion back. What we did is we said, okay, we're going to go back to what it was a year ago and sit down and try to work through all the issues that we now know about with test data that we have to be able to fit that in correctly so we can get it right. So this is going to happen this week. There will be released another one of these once we get it all, you know, worked out of all the pieces. So Brett's working on that right actually this morning as we talk. So we have the drop down with the employee number and things like that for the first name and the FMLA reporting. Again, this is just the part I already showed. W-2s, and I think that, 1099s. The location on the 1099 missed and the year kind of got missed. I didn't see that they actually put a year on the form, which is kind of an odd thing for the IRS to do. Usually they just come out with new forms. So this year we had to put the year of the work done on it. So we added that late. So unless you got it like right before you ran your 1099s, that you probably had to put that in by hand on the form. But we do have it in our software now that it will put the year that you're doing it for you in there. Let's see. I think that's all for updates. Is there any questions about any of the updates that we did and any of the changes we had? So this is what the gun actually looks like for you to see, you know, everything on the part. Each page at the top has a login, and then we have a little internet and a Wi-Fi at the top here. So what this is about is this says that we have access to the network, and even though it says the word internet, it isn't quite right. And we are connected to a Wi-Fi. The new barcode gun does need to be connected via Wi-Fi, or you need to get a SIM card. It is a telephone. I mean, the gun will work as a telephone, but you need or some type of way to get access to the internet if you want to get all the way through the real internet. If you just there it goes. See, if you want to change it from, if you just want to be internal, then you'll need to set up a Wi-Fi out into the area where the barcode gun would be used. This year, or this version, we have a username and a password that you're keying into. So let me put in 160. Oh, nope, 100. Let me back that up. 100. Okay. So we have the primary menu is still it's all touch screen, so they just touch on each one of these. There is a hamburger menu that has a few more options, but still the same options as you can see. So we're going to go here to do a scan. I've got some sheets of paper here with the barcodes for the database in my side. So let me get these spread out correctly. Okay, so we're gonna start with the charge. I'm scanning the back end, the vertical compactor. And then I am scanning a barcode of 24-volt light. And I just want one, so I squeeze the trigger. And then it says, oops, you don't have enough of those. So we do check to see if our system has the quantity on hand. If you don't, you click OK. And in this case, I'm going to change the barcode. All right, let's try this one. Not that these inventory codes even make sense. There we go. That's a good one. So hopefully, I don't know if you heard the triple beep, but it does a triple beep and it comes back. It'll let you put the next code in for whatever piece of equipment you're working on. Okay, whew, that was tough. All right, so let's go into, we're going to go back, hit the back arrow at the top, and we'll do a receive. And I don't have any purchase orders, so I'm going to go right to an inventory code. So I'm going to receive the Snogo wiper motors, and I've got, let's put in 10 of them. And this is the unit price from the database. So I put it in, and now I just received 10 of those. So the other thing we want to look at, and this is a little bit tricky to look at on your screen, but it's when you have the gun, it's not so bad. So that's a receive. A physical is simply you put in the inventory code. And what's nice about that is if I go like to the seal plow, right now the database says there's 0. So if I happen to have a 1 here, I'll put a 1 in and I'll save it. So now we have 1 put in for the scan code for doing a physical on that snowplow. So the physicals are pretty straightforward. The gun will give you what the current system has on file. Meter reads is simply you go off to your work order or piece of equipment, you put in the mileage or the hours that belongs to that. So those are going to be hand entered, but we do have a keyboard on here, so it's not as hard as like on a cell phone to do that. So let me hit it back. Mapping a barcode is simply if I had like a manufacturer's barcode, then we'll have finally a lookup. And what a lookup does is if I scan a code, it will show me the code, what's the name of it, how many are on hand, what the pending order, and what the value is.
We do have a question.
Yes.
Do the receive and physical features create a journal entry?
Yeah, let me kind of explain what we're doing right now. What this does is when you're using the gun, it's putting all this into, best way to explain it, into a place in the database that holds the fact that they did it. It takes the date, it takes who's logged in, it takes what gun it is, it captures what they clicked on, what inventory code, what did they click, the numbers and values they put in, and it puts it in this place. And I'm going to show that in just a minute when we take it from this place and make real inventory journals out of it, or real meter read journals out of it, or real scan map journals out of it. All of those things we'll show that in a minute. Oh, there goes the screen. Been 30 seconds since I did anything. You can change that too. It's just the default on the manufacturer put the screen at 30 seconds. You can make it up to 5 minutes. You just haven't changed the settings. But anyways, yeah, we can go now. There's also another feature I wanted to show on the gun that we did, and that is kind of what that question was about, the pending screens. So pending transactions shows the transaction you did, the type of transactions, the code, the reference, and the values. And so as you scroll through, these are the ones I just got done doing today. Here's your receive, here's your physical, here's your charges. The reference number is not working quite right, but again, these are little things that we noticed. And if I wanted to delete one, I could delete one here because like sometimes you might do a scan and say, oh shit, that's not the right one. We wanted a way where you could go to a place and just remove it from the bucket of scan, of scans before they are brought into the main system. So this gives you a chance to go through and scan through here and say, oh, I wanted to delete one. So I'm going to delete this. The first one I want to leave because it's got a really long code. But I'm going to delete this one and we'll say yes. And now it's as though that scan was never done in the system. All right. So that kind of covers what's on the gun. So let me go to the back arrow, flips it back. Then we will do simply a log out. And we're back to the login screen so somebody else can use it. There is a default of 15 minutes. So if the gun is just laid down, 15 minutes later, somebody's going to have to log in. Just kind of keeping it. We wanted to have a login so we kind of know who was doing the employee number that was doing the piece. This uses the same username and password from the time card system area. So where the password is really just the 4-digit code, not the actual password. So this really should say PIN, and it will by the time we release it. So that's just kind of a show and tell of, the barcode gun is, like I said, 99.9% of the way done. Just a few little things to work out. So hopefully by the end of today or tomorrow, those will be worked out. Then we go to import barcode scanner. It's in the wrong side. It should be under posting, but that's okay. So this is where we have the posting. So I want to look at all postings since 12/26. So it's going to load in all those little groups that we had, all those little things we did, and bring those into our piece. So we have different kinds of postings. We have receives, charges, and physicals that we did. If the scan mapping worked, I'd have a scan mapping. And if the if I did a meter read, we also have a meter read tab at the top. So we kind of want you to bring in your receives first. So that way, if you're receiving an inventory item that you actually you have charged out as well, we have that information in there so the price each can be reflected correctly. So we kind of make sure you go through here. So if I click on here, I show that, I brought in this one. We did a quantity of 10, the price each, total amount. We did not have a purchase order. So I can go ahead and say, if I select it, I can import it. And that's going to start the import process. And it brought into inventory journal 4185, the 2 inventory entries, because you have the 2 sides of the inventory received. But what's nice is if then I turn around and I come in here and I load for that same day again, I go to charges. I have all these charges, but I've got some in red in here on purpose, where somebody charged to a piece of equipment where it has been disposed of. So here is this 104. This light bulb, but the piece of equipment was, 0560. However, that piece of equipment was disposed of. So we have a little bit of, things to do here. So the person who's importing these records from the barcode gun can sit down and make some decisions based on that. So he could say, oh, I'm going to let that kind of go. I don't want to deal with that right now. I just want to get the ones that are good. So he can click on that one. This is another one that there was no quantity or no value on hand, but the gun put one out. So we have an issue here because that could happen for a variety of reasons. So we'll just skip that one. And he can come back and change things on the screen. I mean, he could go in and give a price or give a total amount, and it will charge that out and give a price each again. But maybe we're waiting for a receive on that one. Maybe we're waiting for a couple of other things for our system to catch up. So that's why we like to have the receives done first. Then when we come in here, sometimes the codes then will have values, whereas they may not have if you didn't do receives yet. So we're going to go ahead and import these barcode scans. And it put it in this, if you notice, it's putting it in the same journal, the 4185. As well as if I come through here and I load this, I think the physical is going to fail because I don't have a fund account set for it. kind of knew that one was going to happen. But then what this does is this, we can't really do it, but this puts out a, if I click it, it, you know, shows you what it was. It shows you the quantity that PFA has. And I say I had 1, PFA says I have 0. So what this is going to have to do is increase the value of your offsetting entries correctly. So then we have some of these little confirm using quantity. There's some things in here you can do for adjustments when you're making this physical adjustment that you can decide on here. We have a button in here as well for physicals. So if you have, normally you're doing a physical, you're going to be running through your bins and your shelves, and you're going to have probably 30, 40, 50 of these items. Many of these items are going to be identical to what Pro Fund Accounting says. So Pro Fund Accounting says I had 0. I did have 0 at the shelf. Pro Fund Accounting says I had 2. I did have 2 at the shelf. So if the number that they keyed in and what Pro Fund Accounting believes they have equals, those they can just do an auto physical import, and it will go through this list and just pull them out of the list because technically they're okay and done. It's just a good speed up. But the inventory journal is always 4185. So let's go take a look at that inventory journal now that we've finished this. Inventory post. All right, so 4185. And here's everything we did as it would look like if we did the same things in inventory post. With the charges, the one receive. So, you know, these things have been done in the system and posted. All right, so that's a lot to take in. Is there any questions that we have at this point? Hopefully there is.
We do have a question.
Yes, I didn't type in a single thing there. Everything was a scan from the sheets. We have reports that will print out a big one. You can have a book of all the inventory codes. If it was a work order, I had a work order there where I could scan the work order. Everything is, you know, the idea is that the barcode gun the only input you have to do on the barcode gun from the keyboard normally is A, the login, and then B, the quantity. You have to scan it, you have to type in what quantity you're dealing with, whether it's 1, 2, 5, 7, 10, you know, kind of a thing. But we default the quantity to 1 because we you know, noticing that 99% of the time it's just 1. So you can just, you know, click through the 1. You don't have to even enter the 1. So, you know, nothing was typed in. Yes, the equipment number, there's if you go to equipment reports, we have this report barcode list with Avery 5160 that will print a big booklet of it on the stickers. We have this one here that will do the same thing. You notice this is the one I think I use, the 2-column one that prints the barcode with the prints a barcode and then the name of the vehicle. So they could have a booklet there of them. A lot of places will print a barcode list from the printer and stick it on the side of the vehicle, so they can, you know, if they're working on it, if they're not using work orders of our work order system. So if they're just doing direct equipment or direct inventory expenses, all they have to do is just scan the truck and then walk up to the, you know, place and scan the pieces off the shelf that they're using, and they'll do the charge right to that truck. So it's just a lot of different ways to handle it. Some places usually have both. They usually have something on the truck, they'll have something on the keychain, and they'll have something in the booklet. So I've seen, you know, kind of seen all of it. But the places that work the smoothest are the ones that use the work orders, because the mechanic has got this work order he's dealing with through the whole process of repairing the piece of equipment. That takes care of the barcode side of what I wanted to talk about today. I still have to go over what this thing called authorization zone. We have a thing that we added to the time card app. So if we go to our time card app, all right. So right now, this version of the time card app has the authorization zones. So if he tries to clock in, dumb thing, okay. We do a punch in and a punch out, he can do it. Okay, because we haven't turned on or turned off any kind of authorization zone. So now we'll go back to his main screen and we will come into the Pro Fund. We come into payroll, we go to authorization zones. So what this is doing is this is saying, look, we're going to have a zone where you specify on the map where this guy can type stuff in. So let's see what we had. We had Ann Arbor. So as you're skiing in, this is the zone. This is where we actually are right now. The map, the geolocation of my desktop is inside this square. So if I remove that square and we go back to the first things first, you have to system-wide say you're going to enable authorization zones. So you need to turn that on. It's a new item in system. So once that's turned on, then everybody has to be within an authorization zone in order to work. However, you might have supervisors and things like that that you might want to leave outside the, to be excluded from that. So we made a way for that to happen. If we go to employees and we pick 100, I need to make sure that he is not disabled. So I'm going to have to set that, edit, save it. Okay. So now if I come back to my authorization zones, because I think I remember what I forgot to do, I forgot to save it. Yeah, I still have one authorization zone. So I'm going to just highlight that. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. So I have the authorization zone, so we can do everything. I highlight it. I delete it. I got to click save. And he gets a refresh on his screen. He will no longer be able to punch in. There we go. So my current location puts you outside of any zone for this activity. If we want him to have an authorization zone, we need to set one up. So you can set up anywhere you want. It's just you right click and you draw a square and everything inside this square now is good. I can draw another one. I can put one here, 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 here. So I've got, all these different ones. So if you have different garages, you want to put one around the garage, you can. You can put one around the whole thing. You can not have them at all by turning it off. Whole slew of different options here, and then of course, in order for this to work again, I do got to get my guy where he's at. So, I'll just draw one kind of here. So he'll definitely be inside that one. And then you got to click save. So all of those go to the database. So technically this is authorization zones in their final kind of thing. You'd be able to see everything. You can see all the different zones I created here, but as you can scroll in and scroll out of the map. It's not that, so again, you can see the different ones depending on how big you make it. It will depend on the level of scrolling you have to do to see where you're at on this. So it's not too hard to set up and maintain. Most places, once they set these up, they're never going to touch them again because it's just like, yes, I got around my building. So as they drive into the parking lot, they can use their cell phone and they can do the time card login, or they can do a clock in, clock out, and actually entering a time card. We don't let you enter a time card if you're not in the zone, but if you're not in the zone, we do let you do a lot of things. So let me clear the zone. This is the zone that keeps me good. So I hit save. So now I can go back and do it all over again. So he picks the day, he edits the day, he changes it. Well, probably ought to do a refresh. There we go. He picks the day, he edits the day to make it a 4-hour day. He hits the save, and we get a little spinner while it's looking up, and it says we're outside the zone, so we're not going to let you save it. So he can go back. The employee can do a lot of things. He can do a view, payroll banks, and because that's still, there's no reason for that to be zone related. He can reset this password. He can, if he's a person, he can't we talked about approve right now, who we're allowing him to approve. We might turn that into a geofencing, but we felt like, look, he's approving, it shouldn't matter where he does it, because it's not a thing he can change anything. So we left approved to not have the geofencing, but time card, doing the time card status, that's, he can do all of that. He can look at this stuff. He can pick a day, but he just can't save a time card. So you can try to put one in, a direct equipment, regular time, 1 hour. Use the little tracker and we'll save it, and he's still outside the zone. So that's kind of how the zones are gonna work for the time card app. So if when you start to implement the time card app, you can also implement the zones. And those should do very well for you. It should be helpful to have them if you are looking to restrict access to when and where the employees can enter time cards. Okay, without that, I apologize for it being so confusing because it's kind of brand new to us. We just did it this last week real quickly. But we promised that we would have it in February, so it is in February and we do have it. So it'll be released, it'll be rolled out into the time card app officially in probably the 2 to 3 weeks from now. There's, other pieces. We still have to clean up the authorized zone app a little bit. We also want to add to the actual employee's time card on his part, a place where he can look to see where the zones are. So it will bring up a map and show him, he'll be able to zoom in and zoom out and see where the zones are on his phone or tablet device or whatever his mobile device is. So he can make sure that he's inside a zone when he's doing it. Thanks for everyone for attending this one. The webinar will be posted hopefully within a couple of days.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.